Everyone, I'm joined today with Clynlyn. A little bit of a different kind of stream today. If you haven't seen, I'm possibly, no, not possibly, I'm doing it. I'm doing a book of interviews too, sort of a small side project. Shouldn't take super long at all, I don't think. Uh, but what I want to do is I want to interview people who play GemStone IV and DragonRealms at a convention that they're having called Simucon. And so I'm going to go to the convention, I'm going to interview people, catalog their stories, and then put
Super
that
long at all.
into a book, I don't think.
So,
But
actually, I've
what I
got
want to do is I
a little
want
bit
to
of
interview
feedback.
people who play Gemstone 4 and Dragon Realms at a convention that they're having. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. So I'm going to be interviewing these people at the convention, getting their stories down, and basically just transcribing those. I'll be recording them too, assuming they give me the permission, and then I'll upload those online. Just sort of like a cool idea I had for a small book project, sort of separate from my normal work with my main book right now. But anyway, welcome, Clynlyn. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'd love to talk about games, love to play games, and I love to tell the history and lore behind games as well. I'm a little bit older, so the nostalgia is really great. I love to talk about it.
Cool. And what should I refer to you as? Am I saying Clynlyn okay or?
No, that's my preferred way of pronouncing it. Actually, most people get it wrong, to be honest.
All right. Well, hey, so you've been playing. Just want to start with a little bit with your history with gaming, real quick, and then also just what you when you got involved with Muds and Mushes.
I've been gaming since 3 years old on a ColecoVision back in 1982. Um, but I've been playing MUDs around 1991, Circle MUD on BBSs. And when AOL started offering Gemstone 3 already at that point, as well as Dragon Realms, I was playing on AOL for that. I quickly learned that 4.99 an hour for AOL was going to have my parents murder me for that. But I pushed through. I think the first month of playing Drag Realms, it cost my parents $700.
Wait, and when was this?
This was February 1996 when it first came out on AOL.
So $700 in 1996, even.
Yeah, so we're talking like close to $1,500 now, maybe more.
Wow. So they
Because
charged you by the minute or by the hour
by the
or?
hour, by the hour.
Yeah, I know that was relatively like common too, like different, not just for Muds and Mushes, but like a different like online gaming services in the early '90s. That was like a common thing.
Just internet as a whole, it was hourly. Anything online. So if you connected to AOL, CompuServe, Prodigy, Genie, which is a gaming centric type of online service. Those were all hourly, but then you had your direct connecting the ISPs of those days, which are Earthlink and Mindspring. They were all hourly.
And
I think
so,
it was right around 97, 98 that it went to unlimited.
and the games themselves, you paid for those on top of that, and access to like Genie or the server. Oh, I guess that was the network, right? Genie was like
Yeah,
the internet or Prodigy or
So,
whatever you were using.
so yeah, so that was the network, but they also offered the games on top of it. So think of it like an unlimited way of access, kind of like Game Pass, right? You pay for Game Pass every month, Game Pass Ultimate, and then you're able to play those games whenever you want. But on top of that, you were actually paying the hourly access fee as well. So once you paid the access fee, you're open to play all the games that were there.
And when you paid for these services, you also had access to like the wider internet as well, like TCP/IP and stuff.
Not early on, not in 95, 96. I think it will only open up the World Wide Web in
But
97.
wait, I thought the World Wide Web was '89 or '91. We can
Yeah,
look it up.
it came out that time, but AOL didn't offer it right away.
Oh, so
So
these are like their own
you
separate sort of networks, essentially.
yeah, they were just closed networks siloed out.
But you also had like you said like Earthlink. They would be like were they closed off too? Or they were more like a traditional
Mm,
ISP?
No, they were traditional ISPs, so you'd have to get something called a winsock.dll to allow the TCP protocol to be working in the background, and then you can connect out that way.
Oh, okay.
It was a hodgepodge of DIY back in the day, and a kid like me who grew up in that time loved it.
Okay, so I just wanted to, so it you only pay for the ISP essentially, and then you have access to the games that they're you pay for access to the network, and then you get whatever's on the network for free or quote unquote free, I guess essentially,
Yeah, pretty much.
without additional cost during that time period.
Not all the time, but for the most part, yes. Because I think AOL did that and CompuServe did that. I think the Genie service, you paid for the game, the access separately, but they also had supposedly the better games. But we're talking like 30 years ago at this point.
Multiplayer BattleTech. I never played it actually, but I've
Yes.
seen like
Oh,
videos.
those that you don't know those were fun times. Um, Especially when you're like a kid and you learn how to flood them and drop down the ping and everything's local when you're hosting. You know, those are fun times.
Which ones did you play?
uh, on Simu, I'll go through it right now. I don't know it's actually still there, but
This isn't even a book
uh,
interview, and I'm already asking like a bunch of like book questions. Sorry, these aren't even
no,
book.
no, no, go,
Well, I'm just trying
go.
to like gauge. I'm trying to learn more about you, and then
Oh,
also what I want to do is like learn from you about this stuff in this world more, so that I'm better prepared when I go to the convention and interview people.
oh yeah, I think you'll. Well, the thing about the game is the game has history. The game's history pales in comparison to the role playing and stuff that happened to individuals.
Yes,
So
that's what, that's the huge challenge to try and well, because you
like
can't learn
that,
it all for
well,
sure.
you can't, but I mean, like the thing about it that makes it very rich is learning how people made their characters and played them. And then the faux pas around it, and then you get later on afterwards, and part of the community also evolved as selling characters and items, and which every MMO does at some point.
So that's a
That has
common
a
thing.
whole. It's common, very common. I bought and sold characters, but I have my original character Clynlyn as well. But I've bought for my friends who said they were going to quit as well, and I recently I had at one point 17 level 200 characters that I got rid of 14 of them in November, and made a good chunk of change. I,
So
I wanted to pare down and maybe escape the clutches of this game a little bit.
well, I noticed too. I was at Simucon last year, just like as a guest, checking it out,
Mhm.
and that's what I sort of wanted to go back and do the book because I thought it'd be a good idea. Um, and I just I associate with a lot of people. Everyone seemed really fun and cool and get along with everybody. Was great. But I want to ask them too, like about like their the market. I want to like try and be like, as thorough as possible while also like letting them guide the discussion more since it's their stories. So I want to like create like a question list. So like one of them's gonna be like market questions. Like I guess like if they have experiences talking about that they want to share, and then like role playing questions. So it could explore like different like how they think about how they like you said like how they interact with other characters, how they play their character, things like that. So I want to like get like a breadth of things.
Well,
So
I think that you have to figure out first what era of the game you're talking about. I think the original alpha of this game was like 95 somewhere, and then open beta on AOL and Prodigy is like February
which one?
1996. So that's what I'm saying. So different eras of the game on different timelines. So if we say from inception till around
Wait, which game though? Dragon Realms or
Dragon
GemStone?
Realms,
Okay.
Dragon Realms, because Dragon Realms has a lot of its role playing has pretty much died right now. Currently, they role play maybe once or twice a month for these very specific called out sessions, and they don't do a lot. It's very much automated scripting and botting and whatnot.
That's what I've
Uh,
heard too at the convention last year. And they also said people said that that even though the game's designed more around role play, that usually people will more role play on the other one. on Gemstone?
Gemstone is a lot more roleplay, from my understanding of it. But for me, uh, the game is all about numbers. So I will roleplay if the opportunity allows it. But I'm a remote worker now, and before then, you know, when I was working like 12 to 15 hours a day at some point, I'd get an hour or two at home. I'm not going to get a chance to do so much role playing. So a lot of the early role playing is kind of dead now, and that's that we have to start really talking about when you decide what you're talking about. What was the big thing? Um, Early on, a lot of the fun was role playing. It was PvP. It was tournaments. It was drama, kind of like the early Wild West of Twitch. All the drama that's going on from there. They have different eras of it. Same thing with Dragon Realms itself. Gemstone has matured a lot better. Their uh, their player base is uh, probably as uh, not as volatile, but at least they understand what they're doing there, and they don't take it as seriously. But I haven't really interacted with a Gemstone 4 player that actively plays it in maybe 8 or 9 years.
So
And,
what? God.
and a big difference between myself and some other people is that a lot of people who play Dragon Realms and Gemstone with me, they were a core group of my friends in high school that played together. You don't really have that a lot when you're talking about the majority of the players out there. I knew like 15 people I would see playing the game at school the next day after we killed each other.
So what was it common for people to play with people in real life? And is that still like pretty common? Where like where you have
Uh,
like a real life friend group that gets together and plays? Is it?
not for Mud so much. At least not for Dragon Realms and Gemstone that I know of. But I do hear a lot of stories about that's how they met their significant other. That's who they built a lifetime of friendships with. You know, I, some of the people I know that I've met here have passed away, and I've known them. When they passed for almost 20 years. Met them once or twice at a convention, or went out and we went and had dinner, or we went to a baseball game. We went to a football game. Like we did things together. We try to self-organize, and do real life events in different regions of the country. But um, that stuff happens from the game. Generally, you don't actually end up going into the game as a group to play just because initially the cost. $5 an hour, and you're a kid, even you're an adult. It's kind of pricey to do.
Yeah, my friend group actually tried in real life to play Legends of the Jedi.
Oh,
Different.
that's a good game.
We one myself and one of my friends we kind of got into it, but everyone else was like, yeah, no. One of my friends because we all tried playing together too, and it's funny because the role play committee or one of the game masters was like, hang on, you have like 5 people in your IP address because we were all hanging out in real life, just trying it out. Or it was like 5 or 6 people in our IP. And they're like, well, hang on, you have to submit a form through like the role play committee in order to play. And so we ended up filling it out. They're like, okay, it can take a few days. It's like, well, oh, that sucks.
How do you play?
Yeah, I understand, but yeah,
That's a little bit ridiculous.
it seemed a little bit. It's like, well, this is our first introduction to your game. Well, not mine, but some of the others. But I've got almost no experience with MUDs. I mean, I played a little bit of
Um,
one when I was a
I
kid, but
I would liken Muds and Mooshes to a scripted D&D campaign. That's how I would look at it. It's a scripted D&D campaign that has a specific way of going. You have a set guideline how you level up, what abilities you get. It's a lot. It's not as freeform, at least on Dragon Realms and Gemstone, but other places it can be a little bit more. But it's 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 a D&D campaign as best as I can see it, and that's what drew it to me. You have dragons, you have knights, you have mages and wizards and everything else. It was that fantasy that drew me to it, and still does to this day to a more or less extent.
what are what are the things that people find usually most interesting that you've run into? Like what draws them to it? What's the because it's obviously a relatively niche genre.
It's community that actually ends up bringing everyone back to these games. Um, it's what brought me back. I mean, I started in '96. I quit around '06 for 2 years. Came back in '08. Played on and off. Mostly off from 2010 to 2015. Came back for a year and quit again, and then came back during the pandemic. And I've been back since the pandemic. Um, so I mean, I don't have 27 years of this game straight through, but um, I know a lot of people here, and people always like, "Hey, are you the same Clynlyn, or did you sell?" I'm like, "Nope, same guy." And then we talk, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's you. You're kind of a dick."
Why do they think you're a dick?
It's because I am. I don't. I'm not mean to people in general, but I do play a very mean spirited person when I role play. Um, I like to I like to screw up campaigns if possible in D&D, and over here, I definitely try to mess things up. So there are paid quests back in the day, and I would my whole goal of paying with my friends to go is to make their whole entire experience the worst experience they ever had, and question why they did something with me. They said it's your acquired taste.
So you usually do so are you always in character for role playing or do you only have like moments where you do it? Like do you like break character when you're by yourself or
Um, while playing here, I mean, now I'm never in character ever. I just talk to people like normal, and but when I was playing back in the day, I would be in character 95% of the time. The only time I would break character is that if I'm trying to mentor someone in something specific. So one of the things I was really well known for way back in the day, not so much now because they changed how it worked, was I was a really well known blacksmith, armor smith specifically. But I had grasp on how to manipulate a lot of the systems for making weapons and armor. And I would be playing that blacksmith up to the T, and really, pushing that narrative. In terms of like finding out ways to like monopolize the business, which was also counter to my character's specific ethos of being a holy paladin. But I was always still trying to roleplay a holy evil paladin, which is trying to take everything from everyone.
so is everything in the economy of the game for both of them like this where it's all player made stuff or is it a mix?
It was a mix of you got really cool items from these paid for quests as well as from these invasions. But over the years, because of sustainability and making money, they went to a mobile game s type of microtransactions that started around 2016, 2017, and it's been pervasive where they run an event for about a week or two every 3 months or so, 2 months, and they generate a mass amount of income that way.
How do the players
So,
feel about these microtransactions?
uh, honestly, a ton of people hate it at first, and then they get cool items that are usable for them either through the secondary market or through the in-game economy, and then they're like, all right, whatever, this is how it is. I think the realization is that we understand this is a niche game, and that if we want them to continue hosting this game, um, they have to be able to make money to allow it to exist. So the reality is the majority of us are older. I would say I'm I'm one I'm probably one of the younger people here at 45 that's still part of the core audience, or maybe even older than that. But it's a 27-year-old game. How, they couldn't have, you're not going to get 12-year-olds playing this game. So everyone has to have some type of job and money to do it. Like my account is premium. So it's $15 for the base account, $25 for the additional premium account, portion of the account that gives me a couple extras.
And these are
And
extras. Sorry, go ahead.
There are extras over there. So,
But they're extras that affect the gameplay, not just cosmetic or quote unquote cosmetic.
um,
Or
yes and no. It's like more character slots and something called type ahead. So you can like queue up more of your actions, but it really doesn't matter for that because if you're a decent script writer, if you know how to write in YAML or some type of VB script or somewhere along those lines, you should be able to ignore that and queue it up in the programming language itself. Um, it's really more about just saying, "Hey, I can afford this at this point." And there's some niceties. It doesn't really affect your. Well, there is a slight effect. If you're a postpaid account, so there's a free to play version. They get something called you don't get something called rest mode. Rest mode from a normal account, you get 6 hours, or is it 6 hours? No, it's 4 hours. Um, for a regular account, you get 4 hours where your XP is like triple when you learn, and you get every day if you log out for 8 hours. Every 24 hours, the timer resets, and you get triple the XP. Uh, Premium, I think you get 6 hours, and then you get platinum, you get 8 hours. But you
of
need
the
to
of the bonus
to
XP.
get that, yeah. But to get that hour, you have to be logged out for 2 hours.
So some of the people said though that at the convention last year that they wouldn't really recommend getting into it because it's such a massive amount of money they spend into it.
Oh yeah. Um, I would say you can and you can't. So I've been doing an experiment in the background for no other reason other than I'm interested in seeing how it would work. I rolled a free to play barbarian on my on account, so it has no interactions with the rest of my characters, and I don't give it money. And you can only have up to 10 platinum anyway, so that's a very small amount. And
Your
I
audio's cutting in and out a little bit. Just heads up.
sorry, um,
It's just staticky, really.
it's a staticky.
Yeah, a little staticky.
Uh, let's see. Give me a moment. Let me switch mics. All right, how does it sound now?
That's better. Yeah.
Okay. So they there's all these different ways of getting that performance upgrade from the different accounts, but they're not going to do too much. When I started the free to play character, I really pushed to see how far I can get, how long it would take. Uh, I rolled up a barbarian and I rolled up the free to play in March 2020. Right around like March 27th, I think. That's when pandemic really hit. Uh, the the premium barb hit level 200, and I sold that tune in that November. But that one hit level 200 in August of 2021. The free to play is a level 137 today, and has probably another 4 or 5 years by just projection from how I can see I'm running, and it's running 24/7 basically. I think the script I'm running allows it to take maybe 3 or 4 hours off every day, but it's running around the clock and it has no XP boost or anything like that.
So why? I know obviously these games rely heavily on scripting, but like, why is that such a big aspect of the game? Because it doesn't sound like it's very fun, unless people like make think the programming is enjoyable.
Um, I think it's twofold. It started out with we wanted to get the edge to get more experience because the experience allows and augments your ability to fight. So you get these things called ranks, and the ranks is like a multiplier on whatever weapon you're using. And if you want to be able to kill someone with PvP, more ranks you have, the easier it is to kill. So rather than by hand train this, they were automating, and then they're like, oh, we can really make this faster. So there were some people that would
allow you to charge them, give them money and or in-game money, and you can murder people and be assassins. So there's some form of assassin culture pretty early in the game already. Um, but
They would kill other player characters.
oh yeah, uh, there's a lot of there's I don't know if they're still around, but there used to be a lot of different sites out there that would host the logs from people killing each other and the banter and everything else. It was it was like pre-meme culture that was specific to this game.
So, what are some good player versus player questions I should ask for both games?
For GemStone 4, I am not equipped to really tell you too much about that. I stopped Gemstone probably around 0203, so a lot of the changes when they went to Gemstone 4 really broke that out from how it was running. So I couldn't really tell you that. For Dragon Realm specifically, the questions I would ask them is how did they find stealth to be a major boost? How big was magic versus physical combat? And then the third question was there back then as compared to now, there was something called NMU, non-magic user. So thieves, barbarians, traders, commoners. Those are people who couldn't use magical abilities, um, but they also had something called magic resistance. And how did magic resistance and NMUs play when who you would fight? Because early on, if you were a barbarian, no one can kill you. You had the most defense, you had the most offense, and you had abilities that could stun and bring people out of combat. And someone casts a fireball at you, even before it reaches you, it would dissipate. So over the years, how did in PvP, how did the changes to the way the systems work, how did it affect your ability to play? Um, the biggest notion to know who is really good in PvP right now are what types of character classes are being sold and bought and for how much right now. I think the big one right now is cleric.
And the meta changes.
Not often enough. Not like a Overwatch 2 or a live service game along that lines because they don't make enough changes here to affect it. But every every 3 to 5 years, they'll make a big enough change where it might affect it, or the big meta changes right now are boosted items you get from microtransactions.
So that affects the PvP.
It can, because it's. Have you ever played games and try to stack a stat?
Like, what do you mean? Like,
So let's say you're playing a game, and let's say you're playing like a game like ARPG like Diablo, but you can have like a crap ton of strength, and that's gonna allow you to like do a 4x multiplier on your damage. So instead of like putting anything in stamina, agility, or anything else, you're just gonna keep stacking strength.
and you
You
can
can do that. You can do that in Dragon Realms
with paid items.
with certain paid items, yes, and it's like that in the past. Um, One of the most notable things I think back in '98, there was a barbarian called Vibrato, and I gave him a whole bunch of charisma statues. You rub the statue, and then for the next, I think, 90 seconds or 120 seconds, it gives you plus 10 or plus 5 charisma. And I gave him like 20 statues. Charisma is augmentation of something called a roar. And if the roar is strong enough, it can kill people. He killed the whole entire server because he had so much charisma and it multiplies so high that it killed every single thing in the game, and then the server crashed.
What was the name of this character?
Vibrato, Vibrato, and I think the current owner might have been the one that did that as well.
So this is like a historic thing in the community.
It's a historic event. Yeah, he gathered everyone um, in front of the crossing bank.
Vivero crashes. What year was this?
I think it was 98.
Any other like big moment? Oh, I'm sure there were tons, right? But what are some other big moments that I should ask for
Well,
both games?
biggest moment for me was I think it was 2003. I was the first paladin to get a maker's mark, and that's for blacksmithing. So we each get like some type of item that allows us to etch our marking, so you can be recognized. And I got the first one for paladins. Um, Other than that, summer of '98 was also pretty big. Simutronics moved their games from AOL and other services to their own website, and they hosted their own servers, and they went unlimited on the web, and that was monumental. For about 3 or 4 years, they were having somewhere between 2,000 and like 4,000 concurrent players at night. It was crazy.
And that's when they moved from AOL to their own servers.
To their own servers and hosted over the internet.
What about the first three iterations of this game?
The first, well, for Dragon Realms, it doesn't work that way. Gemstone, it does. So Dragon Realms had a Dragon Realms 1.0, but it wasn't like a separate game. It was like just like a beta. The GM at the time, it was before Solomon. Ah, I forgot his name. He kind of like wrote a white paper on how he wanted to do it. It's supposed to be like, I think Dragon Realms is supposed to be like the predecessor or the past of Gemstone. And he just kind of wanted to build a different stylized version of the game. Gemstone is very much like a Dungeons and Dragons specific type of game. Like you have rolls. So like you can like roll a 1d20. It doesn't really show you, but that's how it would figure that out. And everything's based off of like whatever the variable roll was. At least that's how it was back in Gemstone 3. Dragon Realms was 100% based off of building this specific rank that augments your ability. Dragon Realms never actually changed things around. They just kind of like evolved different major parts of it. So 1.0 to 2.0 was basically going from the the services to the web, and then they made some changes to magic and stuff like that. Then they made more changes to systems from 2.0 to 3.0. I think now it's like 3.2 or something like that. And then they continue to evolve and change some things around. And I also think the 2.0 big change was that they were allowing past level 99, which I think went to 150, and then at a certain point they allowed from 150 to 200. And there's talks about now maybe potentially going from 200 or higher, but they're not sure about that yet.
So
That's always been
what's
talked about for a while.
what's the level cap? It's 200.
200 for Dragon Realms. I forget what it is for Gemstone. I think that might be higher, way higher.
Gotcha. And they're considering raising it.
I mean, it would bring back a lot of people who are old timers like me who have quit. These people are on top of the leaderboard, and the leaderboards are very hard to give up. You have that notoriety even in a niche game like this, and you're like the highest level person there. You're gonna want to taste that again. That's
Now,
one of the major reasons I came back, is I wanted to get it back on leaderboards.
what are the obviously there's the Discord servers. But what are the things I should be paying attention to in terms of like IRC chat rooms, things like this, or where people are.
RC's kind of dead for that. Discord really displaced everything, including websites.
Gotcha. So it's
Like
not like there's like a
it,
like a big guild or something out there.
well, I mean, there's a ton of resources over here. If you, I don't know if you can see all my servers, but and when this is over, I'll send you all the different links to all the different Dragon Realms discords. There's like one for every type of guild. There's the Blacksmith Union. There's the Locksmith Union. There's the Enchanting Union. There's specific servers about different ways of playing thieves and whatnot. So there's a ton of resources out there, and they're pretty empty overall, but they do have a lot of people talking. I joined all of them, and I never talked to a single one of them.
That's most of my
I,
discords too, so don't feel too bad. Most of what I
it's
join.
not that. It's just that for me, I want to be seen, and then I want to ask a question every so often, get an answer, but then take it straight to DMs. Like, it's always direct message. I always want to have that one-on-one conversation with someone.
So you mentioned assassinations earlier. So what is this different from normal PvP?
Yes. So normal PvP, you might have a tournament, or you might get into a tussle, or you might get into argument, and you start. You don't see it coming, as all an assassination should.
Okay. And that's only a Dragon Realms thing, or is that both of them?
I think it's both of them, but it happened way faster on Dragon Realms, potentially because Gemstone is a good. I think Gemstone's at least a good 6, 7 years older than Dragon Realms. Maybe it's less than that. I don't know, but I thought they were like 1989 when they first came out.
All right. So is there anything else over PvP stuff that you think I should be asking people about? I got assassinations, stealth mechanics, magic versus physical combat,
I,
meta.
I, I think I think the other thing to historically talk about are the tournaments. There was one called Kerm something. I'd have to look at one of my tunes to see it. Let's see. Let me check. I'll have to get that back to you, but there were a lot of really big name tournaments that got support from the Simu staff that made items and helped them run it. Because
These were privately run tournaments, or
no, these were run publicly, and people signed up. They paid in-game currency, and they were given like a way to retrieve like ribbons for placement and stuff like that that the GMs helped with. Um, and they were a ton of fun from what I remembers. And we're talking about like they got healers, they got clerics to help resurrect, they got everyone else. So like this is a full on um, murder spree. While also the other big thing and I didn't tell you before that they still have it is that if you killed a certain amount of people in an hour, you will automatically locked out of the game on that character for a short period of time for killing too many unprovoked. So there was a mechanic for that. So people would be running this tournament and they would have to wait sometimes like 6, 10 hours later to get to the next thing. So they would have brackets where they say, hey, once you get to this part of the bracket, if you killed them, you're probably locked out. So we're not going to do this part until the next day to make sure we have time. So this whole entire tournament sometimes will last a week.
all right. So that's what I feel you can ask people about tournaments, and then do both games run tournaments?
Uh, Gemstone definitely did tournaments as well. Definitely different from how I know for Dragon Realms, but I would have to ask one of my friends from high school, see if she's still around to even talk about this, because she was pretty high up there in the game too. She was like at the time, this is back in like 97, 98. She was playing the game for years at that point. She was like level 100 and something, which was very high.
And then I got meta. So if you want to talk about the meta and how it changes, and then also changes in PvP, asking them that for both games, and then ask them how they feel about microtransactions in PvP.
Yep. That's more a recent thing. But the thing with microtransactions is that everyone has some form of the items that they have there, so it still feels fairly balanced.
Yeah, they can answer that if they want to. I just
Yeah.
I'll let people answer however they want.
No, no, they'll answer. I'm just saying, like, just from my perspective, when I look at that, it feels like they found a very good way using a really bad system to stay relevant and running.
Now for gameplay, I'm going to ask people about combat, navigation, crafting,
Um,
scripting,
well,
and the level
do, do
cap.
you do you want me to show you my screen and kind of like go through what I'm doing right now?
Sure, yeah. Let's do this. Go ahead.
Let's see. Can I share my screen? How do I do that?
I'm gonna step out for like 2 seconds. Get a drink.
Okay. I share my screen. Potato. Okay. 1440 source. Go live.
All right.
All right. So this, what I'm showing right now is my free-to-play barbarian. Oh, 136, not 137.
So if I'm gonna be streaming the game too, let's say, will the game like does it? Do you have to type in your password when you log in, or does it auto do
Well,
it, or?
are you gonna use their client or are you gonna use Genie?
Well, I don't know yet. I know there's like there's different ones, and I don't which one do you recommend, and what for? I hear that they're
Well,
different for different things. Depends on what you're using it for, but
really does depend on a couple different things. So first and foremost, what OS are you using?
Windows.
All right, so Windows, so you can do Genie, you can do the client that they're using, the web client they have. There's a few uh, there's a few different front ends. So I use their wiki here a lot just to kind of like see where it's at. Do they have a link to clients? I know they were supporting it at some point. As you can tell, I'm looking at the leaderboards. um, External
Are you on there
links.
on the leaderboard?
Yeah. Oh, I'm not. I thought it was sharing the screen. I'm only
Oh, it
sharing the
is.
app.
What?
Is you
No,
sharing the?
it's showing Atlantopedia.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, front end. So you have all these front ends here. So this is the Mac client. This is some other stuff. CMUD is pretty good. I've used ZMUD here. It's okay. Warlock is cross-platform, and there's some other stuff as well, especially for Linux. But Genie's free now. It probably has the most widely used right now, I guess, is from my experience, but that also could be wrong. I don't really talk to enough people now what they're using as much. My friends list is not as wide for DragonRealms anymore.
And these platforms work for both games.
Genie works specifically for DragonRealms with support for the other games, but you have to like modify it a little bit. If you go to their Discord, they can really explain to you. Zmud and Cmud work easily between the different games. I don't know about Outlander. I don't really think I've played any of these games on Mac too much.
Do you do you play other muds too, or mushes, or what? So I know there's multi-user shared hallucinations. These are all they're all basically the same kind of thing though, right? But they just have depending on what genre they are, they classify them differently.
Yeah, so I played Circle Mud, but most of the time, whenever I started playing the games, I didn't play them. I was writing the game and trying to get people to play, especially when I was younger. I was running a BBS at like 12, 13, and trying to learn how to run the script and run it on Windows. And I would only get one person playing with me at a time, and I'd do that like from like 9 p.m. to like 11 or 12. Like, I'm very surprised my parents let me do as much as they did. They're like, you can use up the only phone line from 9 p.m. to like midnight almost every night for years.
do people erotically roleplay in the game?
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um, I need to get you all the resources for all
I'm
of
gonna have to
the.
add that to the question list. That's gonna be an interesting question.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of stories about it too. There's a lot of stories about what has happened with certain players and everything else, and it's it's graphic and funny and even funnier now that I'm older. I imagine myself as like a 16, 17-year-old kid being like, "What is going on here?"
Well, so
You know.
was that? Do you think a lot of children were exposed? I mean, obviously, probably not today. It's like, but do you think that a lot of children were? Well, it's not funny. It's not a serious
Yeah.
topic, but that sort of thing.
No, I think a lot were, but I mean, it's no different from having cable and having a hot box and watching Playboy or Skinamax at after 10 o'clock at night. Like those are all fairly normative things that people my generation remember. I could talk to any one of my friends. It's like, oh, did you see the Cinemax movie last night? With Erica Laniak and whatnot. And they're like, yeah, like it's fairly normal. I don't think that it was. I don't think that the exposure was that what they said was so graphic. It's that these weren't actors, but these were people acting something out, and it was,
Yeah,
it
to
was
be
that
clear, like
shock
I don't have
of
a problem with like adults doing it, obviously.
no, 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 no. I'm talking just like just kind of going back to that. I was like, oh yeah, there was a lot of mischief and mayhem and a lot of eroticism going on back in those days. I mean, at the end of the day, people did form relationships and stuff from just text, you know, like from being a fairly decent writer.
So, what other types of role play do people do? Or whatever
They
they want, I
they
guess, essentially. But
it's a lot. So I think one of the fun ones I remember doing was I like being a mentor. So I always liked playing that, especially on blacksmithing. I was like teaching people and kind of giving them, releasing information to them, and having them be surprised about it. And I love that. That's the one of the part of fantasies I love. It's why I like a genre of anime and manga right now called isekai. Um, and where people are reborn and then in a fantasy world, and then sometimes they're warriors, but the ones I gravitate for are like, oh, they're crafters.
so, what are the various the gameplay elements? Or actually, you sort of show me what you're doing on your screen, right? So,
Yep. Um, a lot of it's combat, but there's crafting right now. So let's see. Let's just get rid of this. So this is a paladin I bought off my buddy like years and years ago. He decided not to play. He's decently well known with an older group, but no one cares about him now, which is perfectly fine with me.
what happened?
And he's capped. He decided to become a lawyer for Netflix.
And you don't like Netflix, or what happened?
No, no, no. He just was done with the game.
Oh,
But
oh, okay.
yeah, yeah, he was done with the game, and I was like, well, I don't want to see my friend's character go somewhere else, so I gave him a fairly good deal for it. Uh, Paid a lot more than it was actually worth, but you know, I wanted to keep it. So this is one of the characters I haven't sold. But he's like capped at 200. Got really good stats. Pretty much almost done. He probably has another, I'd say 6 months, no, maybe 9 months, and all combat will be done. And then another 2 years, and most of magic and everything else will be done. The only thing he's gonna run slow on is crafting. So forging, which is blacksmithing, engineering. So that's crafting bows and crossbows and stuff like that. Outfitting, which is like making leather armor, alchemy, making potions, enchanting. Their enchanting here isn't like enchanting weapons and armor. They want to release that, but it's like making little booster items or making something that allows you to telepathically talk to people. So that's another route some people go and do.
Telepathically talk to them? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, so there's a thoughts here, and you can like chat with them. I never turn it on because I don't want to talk to anyone. Um, I'm
So what
kind
these
of
are you chatting with local players or
yeah, they're global. You can talk to
okay, so
people
they're
directly.
like link shells or like
Kind of like they're like necklaces that you wear that allows you to connect to this network and then talk to either directly to that person if they're close enough, or to the overall area. The
okay.
province is usually where they cut out off. And your ability to talk further is based off of your stats. Now they did recently, I think, and I say recently, it's probably 3 years now. They changed something called chatter, which allows you just to talk, and you don't need to have this item to do it. But it's for that chatter, it's more out of character. So they say OOC, out of character, meaning that you're not role playing. So the role playing portion is supposed to be using something called a Gweth. Uh, let's see. Yeah, a Jadeite Gweth Duet Swan. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Never have, never will.
So but are you doing this all manually or are you
Typing this
scripting it?
part it is, but I have scripts as well. So
No, but like when
there's
you
a script part.
normally like play the game, are you normally scripting it or are you normally
Normally, well, so normally playing, I'm usually in combat. If I'm in combat, I don't want to type.
wait,
I
you don't
typed for the
type in combat? Like what do you
yeah. I just run the script. I so I used to write my own scripts, and then about 10 years ago, I bought a script called Uber Combat from a guy named Shroom. So let's see. This is his this is his Discord.
Oh, you, hey, I'm
Uh,
don't show too much because I'm streaming it
doesn't
too.
matter.
Or
It
if they
doesn't
don't
matter. This is
whatever.
all.
You can turn on
I
streamer
mean,
mode on Discord by the way, and it'll hide
nah,
people's
no matter.
names.
Listen, as long as they don't know my real name, I don't really care. Like, I'm talking to you to talk to you. I don't mind sharing the online stuff, especially on the gaming. Like, it's not going to be anything crazy.
Yeah,
But
okay. All right.
so
So,
for this,
do you real quick though, do you think they'd care if I shared the link to the stream in the Discord?
I don't think anyone cares.
Okay. Because I mean
I'll
it's
copy the link.
directly related, or if you want to share it too, you can, whatever, whoever wants to.
Uh, oh, actually, I don't even know where the link for this is. Oh, I know where to go. So, Shroom Scriptorium.
I linked you the URL. I'm also in Kick too, if you want to link that, and Twitch technically, but
So this is where you go for his scripts and you buy it, and he actually sells it for a lot of money. Like I think he's up to, as he built it out, I think it's almost like $200 for the script. I bought it way back in the day for like $30, and he just updates it forever.
is this fun for you? The scripts?
Um, yes and no. So I used to love writing the scripts, but I'm kind of done with doing that. But I'm a completionist. So my character, Clynlyn. So I write connection scripts and all this stuff to automatically log me in. That's not really too crazy and whatnot. Um, you know, I've had this tune forever, and I'm not done with it yet. Meaning, I haven't capped out all the ranks. Top rank is 1750. I have that for defense, but my weapons are crap. My magic isn't all the way there. My defense and everything else isn't 100% done. I want to see it through and get everything to the highest rank it can. And then once that's done, I will probably quit this game.
So, what do you plan on doing after you quit the game?
Play another game. It's not like I'm not playing other games right now. I play Overwatch 2. I'm thinking about getting back into World of Warcraft. Um, I play Helldivers 2. Um, I'm trying to find a group of people to do online D&D again with the new edition. Gamer's gonna game, you know.
Gotcha. Are you going to Simucon?
No, I haven't gone to Simucon since 06, 07. But not because Simucon itself was bad. It's just that St. Louis is kind of garbage.
Hey, I'm from St. Louis.
Oh, I'm sorry for you. I have to go
Hey,
there
we have
about
the best
once
fucking
every.
pizza though.
Oh, don't even
Yeah,
fucking go there.
absolutely, absolutely. St.
I'm
Louis
from
style.
Brooklyn. No, you can eat a bag of dicks on that one.
Nah, you call it you have pizza. I'm just kidding. I like Brooklyn style pizza too. But I'm
I
actually
like thin slice and.
I'm going to New York City this year.
Oh, what part?
I don't really know if I should give that out.
I'm just saying, are you gonna go Manhattan specifically, or you're looking at like the outer
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna
boroughs?
be visiting the United Nations
Oh, okay. Oh, good luck with that.
as a tourist.
Still good luck with that. That
Yeah.
that whole entire area sucks.
Well, it'll. I think
It's not
I
it's
wanted.
not bad. Like going to the UN is great. It's like this amazing like to understand that there's this multinational group that wants to come and do something, and then you realize they are absolutely unable to accomplish a goddamn thing, and then it breaks your heart.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna do the tour. And then I'm going to probably see the Statue of Liberty. And I'm visiting a friend. Do you know Gumbo in New York City? It's a game
Gumbo.
development collective.
Oh yes I do.
Okay, that's we are both people of niche interest.
You wouldn't even believe that story.
So anyway, I'm actually friends with the person who runs Gumbo, and
All right.
she invited me to come hang out with her while down there. So I'm gonna be checking out the studio and stuff probably, and it should be fun.
I mean, that part sounds like a good time, and get some good eats and everything else. Just
Yeah, I'm only gonna be down there for a few days, so but yeah, so it's like I can't try out too many restaurants. I'm mostly planning.
uh, you probably could, to be honest.
Maybe. Do you get the buy the slice pizza?
Yeah. But I mean, I haven't gotten back down in New York City, in some time. Like I was there like over the weekend to see my parents, but I'm about 60 miles north of the city right now. Just living suburban dad life and whatnot.
Yeah, I've never been at all to New York City, so first time ever. Should be interesting.
Oh, dude, you'll have a great time. Just just enjoy it, take on the moment, and don't over explore. Just pick one area that you want to explore at a time, and if you want to come back, that's the route to go. The first time, maybe you can like, hey, see Statue of Liberty, Empire State Building, all of like
Well, I'm only there
the
for three
chintzy stuff.
days. Well, really, I'm only there for 2 nights, so I'm really not going to have the opportunity to explore hardly anything.
No, you can, but I'm saying like do all that first time stuff. But if you come back in, the best thing to do is pick a neighborhood, stay for like a week, and get an Airbnb. Well, they don't have that much anymore, but like get something where if you're with somebody, you can stay there and do it that way. I always recommend that way because you're able to understand that there are distinct neighborhoods in there, and it'll be a much better time to kind of like really explore like 10 square blocks.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to explore too much. I might do the planetarium.
Oh, planetarium is amazing.
Yeah, we have a planetarium in St. Louis actually too. Goated city
Listen,
right here.
I next time I go back to St. Louis, and that's probably going to be in about 3 weeks. We'll see what I end up doing there, but it's not my favorite time over there. Every single time I go, it's just so drab.
You have to know when the events are. Like, there's a lot of events usually, but like a lot of music festivals and stuff. If you ever come down here for Archon, even though they did ban my panel in 2017, it's still a very very fun convention, and my
Oh, I
friends and
want
I
to
have been
hear
going
that
for
story
like.
at some point.
It's not nothing. So, in case you didn't know, I was involved in the Gamergate controversy to some extent. So I was involved with that with Gamergate. I ran panels at Arch Anime and Natsucon in St. Louis, and I went to run a third one at Archon, and they approved it. And we were gonna have someone from both sides of the controversy there, and we were making like a presentation and stuff that would basically have a discussion, open discussion about the topic. And
I mean,
then
that's the best way to do it.
yeah, that's what I thought so too. Unfortunately, one of the anti-Gamergate person had to back out. Something came up, and then we had to. We were looking for an alternative person, but as we were looking, a group of people online uh, decided to basically try and pressure the organizers into taking down the event and getting rid of it. This is, and they succeeded, which sucked. But whatever. I mean, like,
Canceling is such a
it
BS thing
is.
to
It's
do.
it's a bullshit thing, but it was also a long time ago, so I don't like holding. What they did was obviously wrong. But I'm like holding a grudge against them necessarily. Like I even applied this year to possibly do a panel to see what they say now, 7 years later, or 6 years later, or
It's,
yes, 7.
I mean, the best thing about anything is open discussion. The worst thing you do is you find out who you don't like. Like, I'm big on free speech of that. Now, you know, the question is, where's the fine line between free speech and danger? I think that's not something I can really decide, but uh, you know, it could be a discussion
Yeah,
around that.
I'm very much a free speech person. I'm also like a political live streamer too. Um, so I do like a whole bunch of stuff, but most of it online, I guess.
That's right up my in my alley. I went to school for political science, but I don't do any of that in my professional
Well,
life.
that's something I could ask people about too. Like if the Simucon people want to talk about their politics. Oh boy, that would be so. But
No,
like,
I
then
think you'd be very
I
surprised
talked
by
with
that.
these people. No, they'd love it. I know because I talked with them last year. A lot of them would be. But like it'd be. But because I'm interviewing the people, these people have reputations in the community. Like it could be very interesting. Um,
I think you would have a lot of fun with that. But
I would
like I
have a ton of.
said,
I don't care. I'll
the
ask people. I do. Let's. Should it be a question? I think it
it's
should.
it's surprising when
And
you
light
actually
items,
have that conversation with them because that's what I learned when I was going to cons and speaking to people. Is like the people who I thought were far right and far left were not the ones which I thought when I spoke to them on a day-to-day basis. But then when I engaged with them on the political spectrum of it, they were very surprising about what they believed in and why. And then once you spoke to them about that, then a lot of other things that were questions before like all fell into place. Like, oh, all right, now they make so much more sense. And like, I don't judge people, which way they lean back and forth. I mean, I'm far left probably on how things are, but I also know that as I get older, I'm probably more moderate, and I get more conservative compared to what is conservative and moderate and left leaning.
Yeah, I grew up. Well, I was in middle school. I was a Marxist-Leninist. Or not really. I was like a communist, but only for the aesthetic, basically.
You
Um,
you were one of those posers. Got it.
yeah, I was. It was. Well, I mean, I was like, oh, you know what? Equality, everybody sharing everything sounds like a good idea when you're 12 years old.
But
Um,
but you don't have context of experience to understand what that truly means.
then I was an edgy atheist. And I'm still an atheist. I'm just not as edgy. Or I'm agnostic, I guess technically. Um,
Well,
it,
I mean that's generally left leaning people will probably fall along those lines a lot more. I'm an atheist as well, so I can respect where you're coming from that. But man, you're a bundle of just pissing people off, and that would be that. When you go live at Simucon, I probably will need
well,
to
I'm not
watch this
this anymore,
because
to be clear. But
no, but it's not about that. It's about all right. So if you're going to ask the questions there about where their politics lie, I bet you we're going to get at least 50% of the answers to be quite
I've interviewed 70 plus people
explosive.
involved with Gamergate on both sides, so I'm
Oh
used to
wow.
explosive conversations about politics. But civil, civil. But like
Well,
obviously we go
that's the thing I
push.
miss. Today, everything does not feel civil. It feels more than confrontation, more than just having confrontations. It feels like it's a lot of takedowns, and I don't understand that. because when I was younger, you can have these disagreements and not like the person who you're talking to, but have enough of a respectful conversation to say, I disagree with you, call them a name, and then walk away. Now it's like, oh, well, could we shoot you? Should we stab you? Like that's where it feels a lot of this stuff is going on right now.
Well, all right, I'm obviously disavow any political violence, but I think we need to find a way to have conversations with one another, and we need to have like I don't know if you want to call it civility, but like we need to have like
You should.
nuance.
You
Yeah,
should definitely
we
have.
should be civil, but it sounds so basic to say
It
that.
sounds
But
cliche and basic, but
we need to
it's
recognize, yes, we need to recognize that there's that we're going to have to live in like this pluralistic world with one another, and especially when people have so many drastically different ideas about religion, about culture, about politics, we're gonna have to find some way to coexist with one another, and I think building well, building trust in institutions and building institutions that are worthy of that trust, um, and also in promoting discourse and breaking through echo chambers. And I think we need to um, actually discuss with people who we have disagreements with. I think that's like a major issue. And like we can live in a world where you can be like a Christian, like a very religious Christian or Muslim or whatever, and like also be like a trans person, let's say.
this. You sound like Poli Sci 101 day one.
Well, I took a lot of political science classes in college, but I never. That's not my degree. They were electives.
Uh, Nothing I did in college is helping me out in my professional life right now. I do project management.
But I'm also yeah, I'm also like a very unique, very, very weird person too. So
Those are the
I always
best.
try to
Those
be
are the best.
yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't have it any other way. But I always try to be like I'm very focused on ethics and like living an ethical life and like trying to like be ethical in the way I produce my work. But I also like to be edgy too, and these are not mutually exclusive by any stretch. And yeah.
Uh, as as long as you can live with the output, be okay with it. That's what I tell everyone else. I'm
I'm
like,
trying to. Yeah, go ahead.
uh, so you know, I have issues with who I work with professionally because most of the corporations I work for are evil. Like literally evil. Like Fortune 50 evil.
What do you think that makes them automatically evil?
Um
That they're in the Fortune 500 or 50 or whatever.
no. I will do my explanation offline because I don't want it on record. How about that?
All right,
I like being gainfully employed.
fair.
Um but but those are the people that hire me for the services I do for the management of the projects and whatnot.
Got John Wick
And
over here managing his projects.
uh, no, I'm I wish I was as cool as Keanu, but I can't reload a gun by flipping it to the side like he does.
I just saw that movie, the first one, for the first time.
Oh, dude, it's the greatest man movie ever made. Like
It
that's
was.
just it caters to everything that I love as a red-blooded American man. Look, there's honor in what he does. It shows a vulnerable side of him. He knows how to fight. He knows how to do martial arts. He speaks like 37 different languages, and man, can he blow up anything he wants. It's so good. I love every bit of that movie. And if they make another sequel and they get to John Wick 5, I'm there.
So when it comes to the clients, obviously, if I'm going to stream it, I don't want my password to show up on screen.
Yeah. So what I do, so you could do this. So everything that's in here is encrypted. So what you do is when you log in first time offline. Wait, sorry. You connect, and there's account name, password, character name, blah blah. Save password and profile, connect, and then you go to profile, save profile, and then you'll have a profile to connect from. This one is
And
Poshly.
that's for Genie. Okay.
That's for Genie, yeah. It's why it's good. But the password itself is encrypted. The This is I remote into this laptop. This is my DragonRealms laptop only. So when I go away and do stuff, I can still just log back in on an iPad or something and still control the stuff.
So what?
So
Why should I play Dragon Realms instead of GemStone or the other way around? If I pick
um
one.
it's if you like traditional D&D, I would play GemStone 4. If you like kind of like robust, slow build, slow burn, I'd do Dragon Realms. If you like roleplay, I would do Gemstone, and if you like to do the math and everything else, it's going to be a little bit of both. I would say don't play Dragon Realms. Its community is not always there. They're very helpful when they are, but there's just not enough of them. I'm not a good steward of the game at all. Period. I suck at that.
Yeah, I've got. Why was at the Roaring Twenties Casino at Simucon last year, and I won climate wear, some pretty cool climate wear.
So we go to this over here, and then we go down to the character I'm playing, which right now is Poshly. That's not the actual password.
Obviously,
Now
yeah.
it has my
Do you,
account
do
name,
you want to
but
show your hash though, like that, on
it
my
doesn't matter.
stream?
I don't care. Worst comes to worst, they do it and they show it and they try to log in. What are they gonna do? They can't transfer, and if anything happens, I'll just go do it. I'm not too worried about it. To me, this is a game, and if you have shitty audiences that are gonna do that, so be it. Not gonna be the end of the world for me.
Can you? I don't think anybody. Well, obviously, if you had evidence that they did something like that to you, they really broke the hash. Report it to me, and I'll ban them.
I don't even care. Worst comes to worst, after this, I'll change the password. It wouldn't even take too long.
All right. So, right now, your scripting is this only for the one character?
Yeah, you can only log in one character on each account at one time. You can't do multiple characters. We've always wanted that to happen. We were paid by the login that way, but they were like they don't want to do it. It's not in their best interest.
You know, they charge some super premium, like $300 a month, but you get the 20 characters or something. People would do it.
No, because you like at one point when I was running the 17 characters, I had like 9 accounts, and I was running nine accounts on. Is it 9 accounts? Yeah, it was 9 because 3 were free to play, and 6 were post-paid. So, wait, wrong one. So was it $240? I think. Was it like 40 times 6? Yeah, $240 a month just in
Jesus.
premium accounts. Multiply that by a year, it's like $3,000.
How do you feel
And then you
about
talk about.
how
Go
do you
on.
feel
How do I
about
feel?
spending that much money and time on all these
I'm
different accounts?
I'm gainfully employed. I don't care.
Huh.
I
Okay.
mean,
I mean, if you want
like
to spend your money on however you want, I don't care. But like, I just
it never. So I don't excessively drink. I don't do drugs. I don't have a gambling problem. Um, long and short of it is, if I'm spending about 10 grand on games a year for me, not the end of the world. Like I've cut down a lot since then. At the height, that was probably my 30s. But even now with that, that's not too bad.
you have a family.
Because yeah, I do. A kid in college and a kid in high school, and
Nice. Congrats.
we're. I'm not too worried about it.
No, it sounds like
You you
you have a family, you have a job. It's just a hobby. That's nothing wrong with that.
you should always do what you love, and you should be able to spend what you want to spend on it, as long as you can handle it. And that's how I look at it. But I do agree. It does seem excessive, but so do people who like to go on a lot of ski trips every year.
How much time would you say you spend per week
Um,
actually playing, not just running a script in the background, or like playing or making scripts? Let's say.
I'd say now because everything's in maintenance mode, um, probably about 3 to 5 hours a week across 2 accounts
Okay.
and one free to play, so 3 accounts. So not a ton. But I also work roughly 10, 12 hours a day, Monday through Friday. So I'm at the computer. I can see this on the side, and it's running, but I'm too busy at meetings. I'm too busy trying to get a solution for the job I'm doing and whatnot. Uh, you know, and I think earlier this year, this month I slowed down considerably, but early in the year I was doing like 80, 85 hours a week.
Of the game.
No, working. So I wasn't
Oh,
even
okay.
looking at anything. So, but even in that time frame, I found time to put in like 60, 65 hours into Final Fantasy Remake.
Oh, nice. How do you like it?
I didn't like the PlayStation 1 games so much because I thought that I still feel that Final Fantasy 4 and Final Fantasy 6 is the 8/16-bit graphics are better and it was a better story, and I still think the story is better than that. But the remake, it did give me that nostalgia of like, all right, this is a good game. It's not my favorite, but they did it justice. And the twist they did it on was not surprising, but satisfying without trying to ruin things.
Okay. Um. All right. So, what other lore should I ask about? You think like player lore? Because that stuff I'm not gonna be able to have
Oh,
access. So
there's a ton of players you should ask about. One that's still around, Sadar, Sadar. He's Archmage. He was like the second. I think he was the first mage to hit 150. And then there's another one called Galain,
well,
Galain, and he was the
is just asking about these players though like gonna be interesting?
no. So there's built up story that's
Yeah.
entwined into the
S-
game from
So
what they
let's.
did. So they were major heroic characters in parts of the storyline, fighting for like the provincial king
So like, this is like a thing that
in
if I ask 20 DR players, most of them will know it.
old school wood.
Okay. So Sadar's
So,
what is it?
so Sadar, Sadar, and
Yeah.
he's still active, but I don't know it's the original
But
person who played him.
what's his claim to fame though?
I
The
think he was the
story
one
I
who
should ask
killed.
about.
Was he one that pushed and killed Warclaf or something like that? There's a lot of actually that maybe that's probably where you should go. You should go to the Lanthropedia wiki and just kind of like read through some of the history here because they do intertwine a lot of what happened um, with it. Let's see. Let's see who they still have this. No, there's a good amount of history. Sometimes it's hard to. Oh, so this is the timeline. Where can we ask some of this stuff?
These are
Man,
player
I
things
haven't.
mostly.
No, these are. So what you do is you find the major events that happen in the game year.
Okay.
So the Locksmith Union was founded in this date, 366.
Were players
The
playing
Locksmith
during this
Union,
period?
yes. So the Locksmith Union is a player-run union organization.
And then what are the big festivals like? Are those a big thing in the game or no?
They happen pretty much. So every 6 hours is a day in the game. Real life hours are is a 1 day in the game, and then I think every quarter is a year in the game. So every 3 months is a year in the game. So there's a ton of festivals. They're not as major anymore. Like no one really cares about them as much anymore. There is a guild fest like right before Halloween, I think. But for the most part, it's going to be the microtransactions. So we go down here to microtrans. So festivals here. We can look at that in a second. Microtrans over here. Like the ones that's going on right now is Athene's Clothes, Frozen in Time. There's items you get here, and they tell you what you do. You run like a certain thing and a small little like puzzle you have to do, and you get some type of token, and you can buy these items. And then these are the festivals they've had in the past, as well as what they do now. The only major fest that they do still is Christmas, Hallows Eve, which is also part of a microtrans, and I think Guildfest. That's pretty much it. I don't think they do anything else really anymore. So like every 3 to 4 months they do something like that. Items are okay. No one really cares too much one way or the other. Microtrans is what everyone wants.
And so those are special events that you pay for a small amount, and then you get access to it.
Festivals generally are free. Microtrans are generally not. But if they might do a microtransaction event that has a free festival with it. So a couple of different things they've done at different times was during 9/11 they did a free festival to kind of allow people to decompress through that in the game, because hit New York, had a lot of New Yorkers in there, a lot of people from Boston, and they did something that was really cool then. Then I think they did another free like festival event for the pandemic. The pandemic.
And then the
I think the game's
are there big ones of those?
it's every 2 months. So let's go back to here. We could tell timing. This one's happening right now. So like, I think it ends this Sunday, so June 2nd. But the last one before that started on March 22nd. I think it ended some like April 1st or April 5th or something like that. They didn't have anything in January for whatever reason.
What's the Fortune Games?
Fortune Games is something you get to do all the time. It's from their Simu store, so store.play.net. So there's something here that allows you to go into a specific special island that you play some type of game. It gives you some items. They're nothing great. It's just kind of like a way to get you to go there and do stuff. Nothing crazy.
And then
It's so boring that I don't really explain it.
Fate's Fortune Game. Okay.
Yep.
And then there's also in the pets, you battle pets, but that's
That's
GemStone,
fairly.
right?
I think that's GemStone, but I think that's also fairly new.
Wait, what's it called?
Because they're starting to introduce pets into DragonRealms as well, but they don't fight. They don't like Pokemon battle or something like that.
Okay, so pets are like a thing in the game though.
So mages have pets, rangers have pets, and they're utility more than anything else. So, let's see. So, familiar. So, war mages have familiars, and they can do, a whole bunch of things. These are the general types of them. One of the types of that you could buy is a lizard type, which is a dragon, in a microtransaction event, but it's like $500. Or you have to run the thing to get $500 worth of that currency to then go buy it.
And which one's first? So DragonRealms is the prequel, right? And then GemStone's
It's
the
the prequel, but it was released after
yes.
GemStone.
Okay, cool.
And then you have like ranger wolves or raccoons.
What should I ask people about the lore?
What part?
Well, just like if I'm trying to gauge what they think of like the lore for the like so they can like tell their own stuff.
I think you should ask them their personal lore, and then what major events they've been to. So if we go back to the history over here, things to note. Where's the timeline? Where's that timeline part?
And people usually keep
Man,
track of this stuff because it's a heavy
yeah,
role to
they
play.
did. It was really big. So if you were there early on, where Arhat's tower was destroyed and Mibgluk was driven to hide, and you're like, you're really old school, you know. Um, then the Gorbish War began. This was a huge thing for us. This is where we got a lot of like really cool gear back in the day. Notch black broadswords and whatnot, and massive plate armor and all this other stuff that was really cool. They added these new races, the Rakash, the Prydaean, the Kaldors, and the Gnomes. So you look at here, you look at the different wars that happened, who was there. Hey, this person was assassinated at the Silver and Ball, which is like this new manor they added in the Crossing, which is like the main city in Dragon Realms. You can ask how they fit into all these histories. So when they talk about it, they might start talking about this. So knowing some of the stuff that's happening in this timeline is really going to help you, understand where they're coming from. And the timeline's pretty long because my character was 16 in the game when he started. He's 120 now. Well, I've been there forever, you know. I think
Sorry,
current days.
I think the stream same thing happened with E Zhang. Whenever I try to do the screen sharing and stuff, I sometimes or minimize and maximize the
So
window.
do you need me to kill it and restart it?
No, it's maybe, but I think it's just
No.
if we here, I'll just close it real quick and then I'll relaunch it. That might help. Okay, let's see if that's any better. I just changed it.
Like one of the big events I remember was when Calig the Black was assassinated. Um, it was pretty shocking because for the game players who he was like the initial starting crossing thief guildmaster, and people have lore and like this camaraderie with who brought them into the guild from a RP perspective. So for me, my favorite paladin guildmaster is Guildmaster Baron, and I think he's in Hib or something like that. Hibinar, another province 4 somewhere down south. But you kind of get attached to these people. Like you would not level going to a far off province somewhere else. You would come back, even though it would take you like a half an hour to ride through boats and whatnot. So you would level with the guy that you started with.
So are guilds and clans things like this in the game?
Clans are not quite there. Clans would be like the locksmith union or something like that, but it's not really like like a set hierarchy like in other games. Like in World of Warcraft, you would have like a guild master, officers, and veteran players, and then normal players, and then initiates and whatnot. You don't really have that here. You just have it's more of a collective. But guilds here are not really about the traditional guild you would hear around other MMOs, they are your class. So your guild affiliation is your class. So let me go back to the game. When I go here, info, it says Guild Barbarian. That's my class.
And are there player run organizations like the Union, right? You said is.
Yeah, the locksmith union is one. There are other unions as well, or other player run organizations. Like there's the blacksmith union or blacksmith whatever. But they don't really run the same way that they did 10, maybe 12 years ago. Maybe even not like something like 6, 7 years ago. Just the player base is so much less. So right now there's 542 people, which is actually a pretty good number for today's like player base. But back in the day, easily 1,200 people, like 10, 15 years ago, and then you go back to early 2000s, it was like always over 2,000 people. And at the height of AOL going, so there was this one point where AOL was unlimited and it was costing Simi too much money to run it unlimited. So they were having to pay like server fees to AOL and stuff like that. That's why they split off. I remember having like 4,000, 4,400 people. I was like, this is crazy. So many people playing. So I would love to see this game be healthy and stay strong because, there's not a lot of games that are like this. But, I'm not going to go out and try to give it $240 a month anymore.
Understood. So what other aspects should I talk about with the community? You mentioned like faux pas that people have done. Also like maybe mentioning like those friends who can't be with us. They want to tell like stories about that, people they've lost, along the way who are
I
genius in
th-
the
I
game.
think the biggest thing to really latch onto is what these games, all muds and mooshes and whatnot, bring forth. It's a sense of community because it is so niche, it is so different, it is so esoteric that the people who play this, they feel so strongly about playing this game or about this subject, and they will build their community around it. So I think if you just ask them that basic question, like what drew you to this, and let them talk, it will be more than enough to connect the dots. So if you only talk to one or two people, you might not get that connection. But you're going to get, like you said, you're going to interview a ton of people. I bet you're going to get that community aspect talking about how that became very quickly. And you'll get a
You cut
oh
out
well,
slightly, but it was on my end. I was having
okay. The other thing to ask about is VegasCon.
Vegas Con.
It was a player-run Simucon like of organization.
Oh, how long ago was this?
The last one probably stopped over 10 years ago, but it would have, for a player-run organization, have 50 people going is pretty huge. For people to have a destination, book it, get a code to book hotel rooms and do all that stuff. They did that. It was like a 2-3 day event in Vegas, like around February or something.
Was this Dragon Realms only?
It was mostly Dragon Realms. I think that they did have an offshoot to GemStone as well, but I stuck to mostly Dragon Realms. So right after I stopped playing GemStone, I didn't really pay attention to it much anymore.
I'll definitely have to ask people about Vegas Con. What
Lots
other?
of lots of fun drama happened in VegasCon.
So favorite moment, most embarrassing moment. What are some other fun ones? Most romantic moment from like the
Um,
game or from?
I I didn't really go on that aspect of
No, I mean like questions I should ask people.
oh
In terms of like about their reflections, like towards the end of the interview, um, just sort of hitting some big points.
I think the interesting for me is that it shaped the way I interact with a lot of people. Shaped the way I play video games for sure. if I didn't play this game the way I played it, I couldn't have, been a pretty good raider and VM in World of Warcraft. But the skills I learned from playing those different games definitely impacted my professional life as well.
So,
So yeah, they had asked me what my management style was in one of my interviews. And I was really torn about bringing it up, but I'm like, I am who I am. So I said, screw it. I'm going to tell them. It's like I play a game called World of Warcraft, and I have to be in control of 39 other people who are not paid to be there 6 hours a night, 4 days a week. And I get them to cooperate and execute, and they do it well without a thought of getting anything in return. My management style is to invoke trust and to understand that I'm going to be fair and that they trust in my ability to lead them and to also get the objective done. And they were super impressed by that, but also really weirded out by it. They said that was the reason why I got that job.
based.
But a lot of what we do is about interacting with people and learning how to do that interaction, learning how to speak to other people, um, you know, politely as well as harshly, in all the different forms of ways you can talk to people, really colors how, you will be seen and heard and how they react to you. And gaming is a really good way of just learning how to have those interactions. So whenever anyone says anything about, oh, like gamers are like shut in closets and they don't know how to do anything, I always kind of like push back on that idea. So
All right. So for
I
light,
think
good.
I think that there's a lot of things that from a gamer's perspective that I think that I want to make sure people understand that we're probably going to be the best of people that you ever meet, and we're also probably the worst.
In what ways are you the best and worst?
Well, I don't know about you, but I like to gamify everything. So I also want to win in everything. I'm super competitive. So I will I will make everything as fun for me as possible and kind of put breadcrumbs along the way for everyone else. Um, and that works for some people, but some people also need traditional ways of interaction. But like I said earlier, I also tend to ruin everything for everyone because that's how I like to play the game, and it's to really be um, unabashedly not controversial, not competitive. There's a different C word I'm looking for. Combative. I like a fun bit of combative nature to it, and it just drives people nuts sometimes. I know that it did growing up with my siblings and with my friends. Uh, you know, just I think the one time we were playing a card game where you it's a forced co-op card game for you versus zombies. I forgot the name of the game, and I said I'm gonna find a way to kill everyone else and get myself to live, and that's how I'm gonna win this game. And like it doesn't work that way. I definitely found a way, and that's what exactly happened. But that's how gamers do things. They want to find something, break the puzzle, do something more with it, be very creative around it, and see where it goes. And I think that that's incredibly fun to do, as well as incredibly antagonizing to people who are not with that same wavelength.
So I want to ask people like what they've learned from playing, what they wish they knew when they started, or that they know now, um, stuff
If
like
you
that.
ask them that, I know a ton of people that became coders through playing DragonRealms and Genie. That they learn how to make websites, make programs. Connie Wallstrom, the original guy who created Genie, now he was a programmer before, but uh, he made this because he didn't like anything that was out there. There's a ton of things that people have learned here, life lessons along with like getting real world skills to go do stuff. There's a lot of that out there, but if you just ask them the question, I think they'll answer it. There's a lot of people who are so open about this.
All right, so hmm. So I'm just trying to think of how I want to set up the. This is obviously a rough draft of like the question list. I don't want to have too many questions because I don't want to like guide the conversation too heavily. If there's a lot of stuff that we're going over, that's good. Plus, a lot of people might not have like specific thoughts on specific things, so keep that in mind.
I mean, are you going to be at the bar when you ask them this?
Well, I mean, I was gonna set up a table and then I could go to the bar too, sure.
Listen, as long
Though,
as there's
though,
drinks
basically
at
from
Simucon, they'll
yeah.
talk and they
Oh
won't
yeah,
stop.
it'll be a fun discussion. So I'm gonna ask. So with light items, I'm gonna ask people about their politics. Very much a light item, as you can imagine, especially with me. But also other muds and other games that they play. Um, what other things can I ask them
Uh,
about?
I think a lot of the people who play DragonRealms GS aren't going to be playing a lot of other Muds and Moos for one reason. I'd say 100% of all the other Muds and Moos are free. So if they're paying to play this and up to $40 a month or more than that, they're going to devote too much of their time to it. I would ask them the question for sure just to see what that is. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if it's near zero.
But now, when it comes to other topics outside of this, what are interesting areas to explore? I guess like their thoughts on St. Louis, right?
Uh, I don't know if they're gonna have a lot of thoughts of St. Louis. I
Well,
think
they
some of
come
them
here
might be
every.
thinking
Like, a lot of these people are coming
oh,
all the time.
this is
You have a lot of
this was
thoughts
a
on St. Louis.
here there is a very incendiary question you should ask because there is a lot of people around here. Ask them about what's the best barbecue.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a well. So like, I don't know. That's not good YouTube content though. When I make the clip, or actually, it might be.
Just ask them questions. You're gonna get a good amount. You're
W-
gonna get a good fight out of that.
I'll have to ask them what they think of our pizza.
I don't know if that's gonna get much, but I remember when I did talk about St. Louis barbecue, I did get someone that said, "I'm gonna fight you in the game." It was
So,
more than one person.
all right. So we got a couple local questions about the area. We got the politics. We got other games and muds. What are other interesting, completely off the way the fuck off topic things we want to talk about? I mean, we could bring religion into it, then we get really spicy. Except
Um,
I don't think anybody will care.
I think the interesting thing to also ask is what's the cross section of people who play Dragon Realms and GS that went to an MMO?
Like, what do you mean? Like, how many of them went to MMOs?
Yeah, because I think almost every single person I ever
Well, that's
played
an
the game
on-topic
with.
question, though. But that's a good question. I mean, I
Yeah,
could ask people about
but
that.
I think that
Sorry, go
that
ahead.
that would be a leading question outside of gaming to go there, outside of Dragon Realms specifically, and then the other thing that would be local is oh, this might be hurting. How do they feel about the LA Rams?
Well, I don't know if these aren't going to be local people mostly, though. They're gonna be people are flying in or driving in. So I don't think they'll have strong views.
Well, what do you feel about the LA Rams then?
Um, I mean, what is the? I don't like know the exact drama about like why they sold it necessarily, or like what the exact thought processes were. I'm sure that they wanted more money.
It was $2 billion. That's why they sold it.
Yeah, basically, they wanted the money. I mean, it sucks not having a professional football team, or well, it sucks not having an NFL team. But I'm not a huge fan of like the Rams. I didn't like go to a ton of games,
Okay.
um, necessarily. I've
I
never been to a single game actually, but I've watched some on TV before,
because
and we have the
I speak
Battlehawks now.
I speak to my
So
counterparts because my company is located in St. Louis proper,
we just got a
and
soccer team.
that's pretty good too. That growing sport that is finally respected. Um, and whenever I talk to them about the Rams, they just glare at me over Teams and tell me I'm a giant asshole. and I ask them every single time, and they just hate it. But that's always when I know that pushes people over the edge. But not gaming and not something else. Oh, I think the only thing we didn't really touch over here is like, what's your favorite movies and stuff like
Oh,
that?
we should do that too. That'd be great. Um, I want to ask the sad puppies, but if I ever interview them, I want to ask them these questions too. Movies, books.
Movies and books are huge two things. The one thing I'm not so sure to ask about though is music.
We can. I mean, like, I'm gonna be sitting with these people for like probably like 45 minutes each. So,
All right.
anime and
Oh my
comics I could
god.
ask too. Um, and then
I could talk about anime for hours.
yeah. Well, how deep do we want to go into the politics thing? Because like,
I think for this year, for what's going to go with the book and what you're recording,
I gotta ask about the upcoming election.
I really
Uh,
think you should latch onto a little bit. There's just too much going on for that. Like the content you could get out of that is going to be pretty good. It could be bad, but I mean it's very topical and um,
so I asked them about
they
like
everyone
each of the
definitely
major
has
questions.
feelings.
So like, ask them about like, what do you think of the upcoming election? What do you think of the abortion? What do you think of January 6th? What do you think of like just oh man, Ukraine, Israel, Palestine.
Oh, I think the thing that people hate about me the most is my take on immigration, at least illegal
Oh yeah,
immigration.
we can put that one in there too. Immigration.
Like I keep telling people, I'm like, listen, if they pass, fast track them for background checks, and if they pass, set them up with working papers, and they work. If they don't want to work, you kick them out. Like we have to be able to help them, but they also want to have to help themselves, and we need more taxpayers. That's the truth. We need more people fill these jobs, and they need living wages to be able to get off of being helped for. So that's my one conservative view is like if they want to work and they're here to do something about changing their lives for being here, let's give them a way to be here as well as let them work. And if they don't want to do it at all and they just want to nurse at the teat of like government help, then
The role of government. We could ask about that too. That'd be a. 'Cause I'm sure people have divergent
that's
views.
that's going to be the worst argument on the planet. I will eat that up.
We could ask about trans topic too. That'll be like super spicy, I imagine, from people's reviews.
You're just waiting to get punched. I get it.
So here's the thing. Everybody fucking loves me. Okay, like I interview far left, far right people. I talk with everybody. I actually have very unique. By the way, if you're watching this, you should subscribe. By the way, you'll see more of this great content. But um, no, I talk with everybody. Across the political spectrum, people who have widely divergent views, including like far right and far left people all the time. Uh, I just debated January 6th with Rob Noor. It wasn't even supposed to be a debate. He invited me on to interview me. Well, it was kind of a misunderstanding, I guess, but um, he was talking to me about my Gamergate book, the one I'm working on, my second one, and which is my main project I'm focused on right now. And he wanted to talk about politics, and I kind of wanted to go there too a little bit. And bam, we really jumped into that. And then I also did another debate on the same topic and on immigration recently as well, with on a conservative podcast. And I'm a
I,
social, I'm a neoliberal.
I just my big issue with January 6th is that you say you love your country, but you don't want to agree with a certain outcome. You storm the Capitol building, and then you're surprised that you get into trouble. Like no part of this. If we stormed on Walmart, they would want everyone arrested, but they stormed the Capitol. It's okay. Like that's the part that blows me away with their reasoning.
Yeah, well, my issue with January 6th, like obviously the individual protesters who broke the law should be punished as well.
100%.
But my big contention with January 6th is that I've done a ton of research into this, and Donald Trump tried to subvert the peaceful transfer of power in the United States,
Yep, that is
and that is
100% what he did.
a major issue. And I think that you should be, if not legally disqualified from office. There's different arguments about that. I think the Supreme Court made the right call. That the states shouldn't be able to unilaterally make that decision. But it certainly nobody should vote for him, and he should probably. We'll see how this. He should be prosecuted and receive a fair
Um,
trial.
I think the interesting outcome that we're coming upon is this. He hasn't been he hasn't been nominated yet by the Republicans yet. It's coming up obviously in the next couple. I think is it a month from now or something like that for a full nomination from the parties that are going to do all that stuff. The Constitution doesn't say you cannot become president if you are convicted of a felony. I believe it strictly states that you cannot run for office. And so there's a lot of like weird ways they can circumvent that on legal statutes because the Constitution was written over 200 years ago and they don't really like to amend it enough.
Well, I haven't looked at like the case law and stuff about like what the history is and
There
traditions
is
of
no
the
case
law
law.
are.
There is no case law
Yeah,
on a felon running.
for president, I mean, that's happened before though, right? Because in
No.
the night, yeah, Eugene V. Debs, right?
That happened, but I'm talking about one that hasn't been convicted of a felony yet. Trump hasn't. So that other case, he was trying to break that part of it and change that. Trump might not even get convicted till like 2 days before the election day.
Well, the jury is deciding like on the next like like this week, right, or next week, right?
Yeah, but that part is.
But
I
anyway,
don't. think-
I haven't
I
followed the
don't
New
think
York
it's pushed
case.
down that.
I haven't followed the New York case. I don't
I
think I
think
know
the
account
Georgia
on it.
case has a better chance for him going as a felon if they didn't screw that up. Democrats
Yeah, I
they
haven't looked
keep
into the
waiting
Georgia one either.
they
But
keep waiting
I've
on doing this, and it's stupid.
yeah, I've only looked into like the documents case and January 6th.
The documents case is stranger because I would think that they want to put him up on treason for probably getting what a half a dozen like of our spies killed,
Oh,
and
has he?
they know he did that. They know they gave that information to Putin.
Has he?
Oh yeah.
Well,
There's a
I've not read every
correlational
single
link.
document in the case, so
There's a correlational link between the time that he had a conversation from the Oval Office with Putin to days later, a large substantial amount of our Eastern European operatives dying, and they can't tell us more than that.
well, you can send me some links on this if you want. But
And it's a crazy thing. Now it's correlational at best right now from the public's point of view. But where there's smoke, there's fire.
oh, I should ask him what they
And
think of race.
ooh,
No, I'm
that's
we're-
that's a hard one to gauge too.
Yeah.
Not to have the conversation with, but it definitely
I don't want to get these people in trouble, you know. But well, actually, I don't. If they don't want to talk about it, they can say, "Hey, look, I don't feel like talking about it."
definitely they'll put the out if they're smart. They don't want to do that, but I have feelings on that one too.
Oh, you feeling us on race? What kind of
Yeah.
feelings?
I think that none of it is fair, depending on where you are, and I'd say even to this day in the United States and whatnot, it's very white centric, and we have to understand that that is still the majority in this country, and that inherent bias is always going to be there. It's not right. It shouldn't happen, but it does, and you have to be cognizant of how to deal with it and how to make it fair. But you can't be so upset about it to understand that it is going to happen,
What's going to
and
happen?
that some form of racism, some sort of partiality on who gets what, um, resources going to from one group of people to the next. Some more deserving, some very much less deserving getting it. You look at zip codes in New York, and you see who traditionally gets all the scholastic help, and you can see where that goes and why. Well, one, those people pay more taxes, so yes, but everything is rigged against what you call it, the poor, and unfortunately, the poor in this country are usually people of color.
Well, not usually, right? They're usually, I guess, white, actually,
Well,
but
they're
like
well,
disproportionately, like you're saying it. Like, when you compare rates of
yes. When you
poverty,
so when
right?
you so
Relative poverty, right?
relative to their overall sample size, right?
So what do you want to have happen
Well, you can't. The thing I would love to happen is a redistribution of wealth and opportunity.
on racial lines or economic?
Economic. I don't think we should do anything based off of race. I think you should do more on economic because economic crosses all racial barriers. There are poor black people, poor Mexicans, poor white, poor Asian, poor everything. You raise those people's ability to take themselves out of poverty, and they do better for the next generation.
Maybe
And
instead
that's
of
what you should be fixing.
asking, I should ask people like social issues in general instead of having it be like hyper focused, and they'll name like two or three that they want to talk about. We can get into that.
Yeah, but I think race has that whole entire issue of
Or just
saying,
ask them
"Oh
what their
my God."
top issues are, and then diving in. They can pick
This
anything
is
they
the
want,
year to
right?
ask them that question
Yeah, and that's they'll
because
just yeah. I do
because
want to ask people about Israel, Palestine, and Ukraine though, in addition to, and also the role of government. That should be a separate one too. But otherwise, let them pick four or five things that they care about, or two or three or whatever, and then jump in from there.
my hot take on those subjects is that
Well, this isn't a book interview. This is just
yeah,
prep.
I know.
Okay.
I'm saying
Well,
like
you can, yeah, go ahead.
my
Give
hot
me.
take on Ukraine is that either you're going to support Ukraine indefinitely and you're going to help them win and you should put more resources in doing that, understanding that that could lead to nukes, or you pull out and let them take it over and let them go after that, and allow the other nations that are going into NATO. Personally, I think you should support them, let them into NATO, and then call the bluff on Putin on that, because if he does want to wage World War III with nukes, he's going to lose that one, but it's going to be costly. But there is no reasoning with him. The other thing you can only hope is that he's in his mid 70s as well, and he dies. But barring that, you're dealing with a man that is grasping at the end of his life, grasping at power, not wanting to let it go. There's not much else you can do. Reasonable way is to continue what you're doing over here, but I don't know if Ukraine can hold out with that. And then with
Well,
Israel,
I think they can with our recent aid package. And now, if they look at lowering the conscription age to, or I'm not a military expert. I'm not going to tell them how to fight their war. But
but that's the problem of they have a finite resource of manpower. Even the
well, so
lower,
does
it's
Russia,
not
to
enough.
be clear.
They do, but they have other satellite nations they could pull in, and they have enough money to do a certain amount of mercenary as well.
Yeah, the
So
mercenaries is a real thing. But how much? I don't think they're going to get like these other CSTO countries to send troops to fight the meat grinder.
yeah, but they have a resource that they could pay in, and it's not money. It's oil and natural gas. That's the only reason why they've tried to take over Ukraine. Like when they split up the Soviet Union in the 90s, natural gas was not a as big of a viable thing, and they didn't know the storages underneath Ukraine. Now that they know how much is out in that sea area, they're like, oh, we need to take them back because how do we sell that stuff over? The corresponding negative effect of this war is that their biggest customer in Germany is like, all right, well, we're not going to buy from you anymore. We're going to push our green initiatives really hard right now, which they have. The part of Israel and Palestine, I'm pretty torn on that as well. I think humanitarily, what's happening there is terrible, but Israel doesn't lose. They have never lost in that region since their inception, and I don't know if we continue supporting them or not, but you have to let that conflict kind of like go all the way, and I would say we just step back from that. There's really no on the world stage. We can't step in and stop them because they're the poster child of being beat up from World War II as a people. So the world in one part feels sorry for them, but what they're doing right now is horrible and horrendous. Can't support that either. There's really no winning out of that outside of saying, all right, let's pull out. I think that one we should stop supporting them.
I'm pretty. I don't have like strong views on Israel Palestine. I've not done thousands of hours of research into this by any stretch, or even dozens of hours of research into this, other than like what I've lived. I'm generally, I think, a little bit more sympathetic to Israel, in the sense that I think that the United States probably does receive a benefit from having this partnership and alliance in the region, and I think that that's basically in our interest to be a moderately supportive force towards Israel, but also a moderating force on them too, where we would basically, because they have such a close relationship with the United States, we can help bring about outcomes and affect Israeli policy to some extent,
Well,
and ideally
I
in a way that's more towards achieving a two-state solution that is going to bring stability to the region.
but I don't think a two-state solution is ever going to be on the table from Israel's
What's the
side.
only thing that's on the table, right? Because the Palestinians, there's zero shot that they're going to live side by side with the Israelis. Neither side wants that.
Nope. And I'll
Well, I
be
think the
honest.
Israelis would be open to it, especially with U.S. pressure.
I,
They,
I
I think
think
so.
I
Yes,
think
they've
some
historically shown.
Israelis would be open to it. I don't think the Israeli government, which is made of too many older people who lived through other wars, are open to it. Um, you know, unfortunately, for conflict to end, the older generation has to die.
Well, that's not like a realistic solution. Um,
Well, I'm just saying it takes
no,
time.
I think that they would. I think if you had a realistic peace deal, a real peace deal on the table, um, I think that the Israelis would sign it. I don't think that Hamas would sign it. I don't know
Oh
about
no, they will
Fatah.
never sign it because they feel that that the UK reneged on the deal for them to get their state and gave it to the Israelites. So the deal that Israel got was the same deal that was promised to the Palestinians.
They're not going to. They're not. They're never going to get that land.
No.
They're not gonna. They're not gonna get rid of the Jews though. It's not gonna happen. So they have to like come to terms with the fact that that's not a realistic course of action.
Well, think about it this way. Some of the best modern weaponry were created in Israel in the last 75 years. In the middle of the desert without resources. How do you beat a nation like that? At one point in 67, they're surrounded all sides, and they still won. They're far and ahead with our help, way ahead of their neighbors in terms of military might and power as well as tactics. That's why it feels like reverse terror because of what they did. It feels like they're punishing all Palestinians because of Hamas. And I think that's the part that the U.S. government and the U.S. people are really feeling really hurt by.
Are they
But
punishing all the Palestinian people though?
if they are firing in areas that are hurting quote unquote safe or safe zones and
Oh, the
mortaring
recent
through.
attack, dude. I haven't looked into that. I don't know. Maybe they are with the recent thing in Rafa. I didn't see
It
the
just
explosion.
by what you see on video reports and everything else, it doesn't make sense to do that. So they killed the section leader of Hamas there in Rafah, but potentially killed hundreds, if not thousands, of people as collateral damage. Listen, they were able to do precision strikes. I would say, all right, let them continue going because they were attacked. They were the wrong party. The precision attacks stopped literally after a day or two, and that was it. Now it's a bully kid with all the support and muscle and this just lashing out, and that's the IDF and the Israeli government. I don't think the people want this that much. I think especially the youth in Israel doesn't want this. But at the same time, that is the controlling party over there, and with all I don't know, I just have a very hard time of saying what do we want to support on the world stage for this, um, and how do we want to do it. I don't know. I'm not saying we break our alliances off with them. I don't think you can, as a Western superpower. But you have to give something to them or take away something to them to understand. Hey, what you're doing is patently, morally, ethically wrong, and get them to come back to the table. Now, I don't think the U.S. can force them to the table to sign a peace treaty, but they should be able to bring them to the table to not randomly kill civilians. And that's my major problem with this is that most of those people who are Palestinians don't want anything to do with war were pretty happy with the status quo up until that point. Yeah, I'm not saying that it was perfect, but it was better than dying from mortar shells.
All right, so I'm I did just share it in the Discord, by the way. Gemstone and Dragon Realms.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So anything? I'm going to wrap things up here in a few minutes. Anything else you think I should ask people? Um, Here, let me just go ahead and I'll send you real quick like a rough outline. This is obviously just completely rough. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to be adding to it, but and maybe taking stuff off. But here's what the rough outline is. I just messaged you on Discord.
Yep. Economy. Wow, there's a lot of topics, dude.
I know I should probably trim it down. I really should. I'm just getting ideas right now, you know.
Gameplay, PvP, Dragon Realms, corporate, transportation, events, microtransactions, community, economy.
Some of these sections I can probably keep more open-ended, actually.
So economy, selling characters is definitely one of the areas where you're going to get a lot of good and bad, and a lot of people who have a lot of feelings on. I think that's good. Uh, I don't know. What do you mean by inflation?
Is there? I was going to ask you earlier. Is there inflation in the game? Do like the
Yes.
prices?
Oh, it's gotten really crazy. So yeah, I think back in the day, to sell 10,000 platinum coins, you can make like $100. Now that might be like $10.
And then I know they play the tabletop games at the con too, D&D, or maybe they play other ones too, or is it just always D&D?
Yeah, all settlers obviously. Catan is huge. Simucon 24 and Simu Story. Ooh, that's a pretty good one. Simucon. Do you want to talk about some of the bigger non-spoken about controversies?
Absolutely.
There was a war mage called Mean, and I think part of that story was back in
MEAN.
the day. Meanne. And there was, I think, the game director and her were having lots of issues, and she got banned and other stuff. But I don't know how deep it goes into that. That's something that you might want to investigate with some of the old timers if they know that story.
All right.
And then there was
Anything
some
else
other
with
there
that?
were some other stories about improper staff to player interactions.
What
That's something you might want
specifically
to dig
though?
around.
Oh, just name name. Or you can DM the name. You don't have to tell me on stream.
Yeah, it's more about. I don't remember all the names of that, but I just remember hearing a lot of stories about underage stuff.
With like ERP.
Um, Potentially, because I never was able to like get the full story on that, and
Well, obviously, I'm
then
not
all
gonna
the
run with
people.
something I can't verify. So.
Yeah, I know. So I'm not saying go and ask and pick on that. I'm just saying if you hear anything, that's what I would. That's one of the more controversial things I would be keeping an ear out for.
Okay. Cool. Well,
Outside
hey,
of those, movies, books, politics, reflections. Yep. Yeah, I think this is it. It's a big, robust list.
I always do big robust lists, but I'm gonna probably make some changes, big changes to this. I'm gonna get other people's feedback too, most likely, and
All right. And if you have other questions to me, let me know.
yeah, absolutely. I appreciate
I'm
you coming
always
on.
on. No doubt.
And we can maybe talk again too before the project. And maybe I'll even fucking interview you over stream if you want. But I have to think about like how I want to do that because I want to do just there at the con and get. But I don't know. We'll
Uh,
we'll play it by ear.
I I think I think as you get information, you
Well, I
want to
might.
use me as like a corroborating source of like a memory on it. I have a lot of stuff that's packed into the head, but it's just not organized in any good way.
Yeah,
It's to me, I lived it, so I'm not going to really go think about it like in terms of one way or the other. It's all information to me.
I'll have to decide how I want to do. Also, it also depends on how many interviews I get at the con, right? If it turns out like, oh shoot, I don't really have enough material for a book, I might add like one or two more people, and that'll flush it out enough. Maybe I'll
Mhm.
interview you or one other person or two. Anyway,
Uh,
anything else you want to
I
talk about?
I might be able to also put you in contact with the person who showed me your Reddit posts.
Oh,
She also used to play this game quite a bit, and she has a blog and some other stuff that she does for just talking about muds and mooshes and actually in terms of world building for it.
yeah,
So
no,
she
I'd
has
like
a
to talk
very
with her for sure.
yeah she has a really good perspective on this.
Cool. Well, hey, anything else you want to talk about?
Nah, I think I'm pretty good. uh, I, we talked almost literally 2 hours straight.
All right. Well, hey, you have a good night. Okay.
All right, same to you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.